Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday Live. My name is Ashley Hay. I'm an artist and also the importer of Powertex for Australia. So today, of course, we are looking at lovely, easy projects for you guys out there who have a stash of Powertex and you want to pull it out of the cupboard and just get started really, really easily. Or it may be that you've been working with Powertex for a long time and just want some really lovely, easy little projects that you can do and give away handmade gifts for Christmas. So over the last few weeks, we've been looking at we've done a rusty journal, and we've also been looking at brooches and pendants, and today we are going to look at gorgeous bottle cuffs that you can make to go with your favorite bottle of wine or your friend's favorite bottle of wine, or that you can actually decorate a beautiful bottle with and give as a gift, and they can use the bottle cuff over and over again on a new bottle. So that is what we are doing. It makes a perfect gift for Christmas. Plus, it also gets you activated for the weekend, inspired and creative, playing with Powertex. So let's take a look at what we have been doing. And so, as I say, last week we were actually doing some brooches. So this is one done with the bronze Powertex. The bronze makes a really gorgeous base for working with the Powertex. It gives you a really dark colour underneath that you can then use to colour in any way with your favourite colours using the beautiful pigments. So if you missed that one, there's 2 weeks of Friday Live over the last couple of weeks where I've shown you how to do that. And then, of course, before that, we did the rusty journal. So the brooches or the pendants, because you can put a loop on the back and make them a pendant, or you can actually haven't got a brooch pin, or you can have a brooch pin on the back of it so that you can actually pin it to a hat or a coat or a jacket, whatever you want. So really beautiful. And then the perfect transition from the brooches is to maybe do like a little mixed media plaque where you're taking it just into a more experimental flat surface that is very, very textured. So this one is done with the bronze gold and also the pearl red to finish with your Colourtrix metallic pigments. So it's got the bronze base with the Powertex Universal Medium, and then it's finished with Colourtrix bronze gold and pearl red, which is a gorgeous combination. Whereas this one has the magic violet and also the bronze gold to finish that one off. That is a gorgeous combination, bit like peacock colours. So all you need is the blue and the green to go along with it. All right, so this is an example. I actually have a really pretty one that I couldn't find, but this gives you an idea of what you can do. So it is a cuff, and so it will go over the top of your bottle. So you can actually remove it, take it off, and then put it onto a new bottle. So this one has the little African heads that we were playing with. It's also got some nice flowers. What I do love is my favourite thing to play with is actually T-shirt material and mop string. So very, very cheap materials, and then actually using those with your Powertex, which you can see it goes totally hard and it stays hard like that. So that is where it is a really interesting medium, because it is totally universal. It will stick everything together, it will colour it, and it will also harden your fibres and fabrics and waterproof them depending on the product that you're using. So we've got some that's totally waterproof and some that is weather resistant. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for watching and dropping in a comment to let me know that you're here. So Nicole from Three Hearts Art Studio, welcome. Carol from Ladybird Creative Arts in Hamilton Hill there in Fremantle, beautiful. She's got some lovely Christmas gnome workshops coming up. And Lamia from Montreal, welcome one and all. And of course, if you are watching in replay, please also do drop a comment in and let me know that you've been watching. So that is, you know, quite a detailed one. It's got lots of different textures, lots of playful elements. So I'm going to show you how to do this today. This one is a lot more simple, but it is simply elegant. So you probably, I don't know whether you can see that and get the full effect of it, but it is actually really lovely. And so this one is just done, instead of using t-shirt material to start with, like I'm going to show you, this one is just starting with a bit of hessian, and then it's got the decorations put onto it straight away. And it is, you know, quite a simple one there. So you can see how that just slots on to any new bottle, and it really does, you know, look really, really lovely. So minus the plastic wrap, I've got it pre-prepared. And I'll pop the other one on so you get more of an idea of that one, depending on the shape of the bottle that you use. So you can see like that, it looks so much better on. And they are just stunning. They make the most stunning gifts. So, you know, how often do we go, oh, what can I get someone? I'll just get them a nice bottle of wine or a nice bottle of something. But what these bottle cuffs, these bottle collars do, beautiful bottle decorations. You can choose the colour that you think your friends or family or yourself love, and then you can do them in your own colours with your own themes. So these ones are obviously done with bronze Powertex, like the one that was pictured on the cover. But today we are going to use ocean blues and have a play with the blue Powertex, so that you can see how gorgeous it is when it is actually done up with the colour as well. So there we go. That is the plan. And so this week I'm going to show you how to do the blue bottle cuff, and we're going to take a look at a few things like using molds and different things. So stay tuned, because there will be a few little tips and tricks along the way as well for you. And I will share some of the materials that I actually love to use. So I'll just move these out of the way. And let's get started. So what I have done is I have actually already created this morning. I just dunked a bit of t-shirt material into some blue Powertex, and then I have actually just wrapped that around the bottle. So you can see the really lovely thing is with the t-shirt material, you get all these really beautiful folds and gathers. I just need to pay a little bit of attention to a couple of bits of the ends. I really like to make sure that when I'm working with the Powertex, I really pay attention to the edges and to the details. And sometimes it's easier once it's touch dry just to tuck it in underneath, like you saw me just do with that bit. And when it is very, very wet, it's wonderful to manipulate, but it doesn't always stay exactly where you want it. And that's where just going back, half an hour later or an hour later and just, touching up any edges or bits that you've maybe missed. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to add some elements. So the first thing that I've done is I have actually wrapped my bottle in plastic wrap, as you can see here. And then I have my t-shirt material. Now, the thing with your material is you can use everything from sort of scrappy bits and offcuts to really beautiful. Let me just grab it from here. My stash, my secret stash. Okay, so you can use everything from, like I was saying, from offcuts and scrappy bits to actually more planned. So paper flowers are really gorgeous to use. I've got this really lovely sort of net fabric, which is actually really nice because you can see it's 100% cotton, so it takes the Powertex really, really well. So basically what you want to do is select a range of porous fibres and fabrics that are really going to take the Powertex well, and of course lace and doilies and things like that will just create a really special element to your piece. So pull out your stash, have a look for some of your favourite bits. I'm going to start with a bit of t-shirt material. The t-shirt material I like to use is actually really thin. I find it's a good way, if the t-shirt material is thin t-shirt material, that it actually doesn't take too much Powertex and you get better value for money out of your Powertex Universal Medium because it doesn't soak up so much. And the other thing I love about it is that I can actually, after I've coated it with the Powertex, I can pull the stretch out of it and it goes really, really beautiful. It doesn't even look like t-shirt material anymore. So I've got that. I've also, let's just, I think I've actually got a few little bits and pieces here that I've pulled out. So I've got a bit of net. I've got a bit of string, got a bit of that, and what else do I want? Maybe a bit of paper deco. Paper deco is really lovely. Mop string is fabulous. Muslin is absolutely stunning to work with. And what I love about the muslin is that you can really tease it apart. And stockinette is also gorgeous to work with, but you want to coat that, let it partially dry for maybe half an hour, and then you'll find that you can stretch and it will hold the stretch. But as well as all of that, I'm sure that you have some beautiful bits and pieces in your stash that you can actually use to really finish your piece off nicely. So if I was going to use this piece, I would use it right at the very end, and I would use it with transparent Powertex. So I would let that blue Powertex dry, and then I would add this on with transparent Powertex so it dries clear. And for those of you who are really clever, can make your own laces and bits, you can even make especially created bits for using with your Powertex. So today I am going to do an ocean theme. So I have got this netting. It is pretty plasticky, so it's probably not going to take the Powertex that well. So we'll see how we go with it. We'll test it out. And what I will do is attach it onto the piece with a bit of stone art as well. I'm also going to show you how to create some molds, so I'll pull those out while I'm there. Now, you can pre-make these if you want. You can actually, you know, make some plaster molds that you can actually attach straight onto your piece. And, you know, again, it's really good value. But what I love about using the molds with the stone art is that it gives you an instant mold that you can pop onto your piece. And one of the wonderful things with it is that because it's still wet, you can actually bend it and shape it as well. So you create the mold and then you can put it onto the shape that you want. So I've got a few that I've actually handmade here. So these were made from actual shells and they were just using like a silicone putty. These ones are using the beautiful ammonite molds from Powertex. So these little ones are ideal. This little cloud mold is ideal for using for this sort of project where you just want really small elements to add on. And then, of course, if you want, you could actually, you know, mold some plaster heads and you could do a mermaid. So on your bottle bling. So I look forward to seeing some really imaginative, beautiful bottles done with some special elements. So there we have it. Oh, and Hessian is also really wonderful. That is a really nice material to use as well. So there you go. We've got a bit of a stash of stuff happening. And I'll just move this out of the way. And then we will get cracking. Okay, so the first thing I do is I'm going to take that big triangular bit that I cut. So it's probably about 35 centimetres long by about 20 centimetres on the other length. It doesn't have to be exactly that length. These are just offcuts that I actually had. And I thought, okay, you know, let's actually use those. And, you know, you just want to test it around your bottle and you want to have enough fabric that you've got enough to play with on there. I can also start with something that is more like just a fabric strip. That can also be nice. So try different things. And like I say, oh, I haven't left my lacy bit out. Hang on, I'll just grab that. Lacy bit. So you could actually also start with just a bit of lace or Hessian, like that other very, very, very simple one. You know, this is just so simple, it doesn't take long at all. So you could make some very, very simple ones. So like I say, this just has a bit of Hessian, then it's got some mott string around it there. So it's got the Hessian cut in a strip, put around instead of the lace, or you could use the lacy bit, whatever you've got. Wrap some mott string, and then it's got a paper flower, and you can see the mott string is there hanging down. This is Hessian, and there is just a leaf on the back. So Carol's just saying she's excited. She needs to have a go. Absolutely, Carol. This is just a gorgeous project. It's a lot of fun, easy to do, and so you don't need too many bits and pieces, but it's a really good way if you want to, you know, after you've had a little bit of a play with some other stuff, to actually see how you can mold Powertex onto a bottle. So of course, if I didn't have the plastic wrap on here, I wouldn't be able to get the bottle cuff off. So what is important is to have the plastic wrap on. So that is essential. Otherwise, you could do an altered bottle in a similar way where the Powertex actually sticks to the glass and it becomes a permanent thing. So that's something else you can play with. Okay, so let's get cracking. I've got all of this mess of fabrics around me here. I'm just going to cut this. I am a big fan of triangles. So these scissors aren't working brilliantly. Of course they're not. They worked fine with the t-shirt material, but not so good with this. So the reason I like triangles is because you know, it's just a much more interesting shape. So you can see how I can hang that off of there, and it's just going to look really, really lovely. Nicole's saying, I have 2 bottles set up and ready to bling. Awesome. And they're blue, ready to go. Awesome. We look forward to seeing those, Nicole. Please share them in the Powertex Australia Creative Hub. If you guys are not a member, it is a fantastic group to be part of. Everyone is so wonderful. All right, let's go. Let's make this cuff and then get cracking onto making some molds and other bits and pieces. So, of course, your simple setup is take off any loose jewellery because, of course, the Powertex will adhere to anything that is porous. So it's going to adhere to metal, glass, all your beautiful fibres and fabrics, natural materials, cement, concrete, plaster. So basically pretty much anything except plastic, and even with plastic there are things that you can do to actually overcome the fact that it doesn't stick that well. So this is the Blue Powertex. It is absolutely gorgeous. You will notice it does dry to a very different colour. So it dries a lot darker than it appears when you put it out. It is a really, really beautiful base colour for doing, you know, all your beautiful blue things. So for Christmas, you know, a lot of people here in Australia, and I don't know, I'm sure overseas as well, love the combination of the blue and silver look. So I've got a friend whose mum, she just loves, her whole house is that beachy themed feeling. So it's all got the white and blues and, you know, the limestone washes and things like that. And so, you know, her Christmas decorations are always done with sort of the blue and silver instead of the reds, greens and dark blues, or the reds and Christmas golds. So the really beautiful thing with this project is that you can, you know, do the base in any colour. And as I've said in the previous getting started videos, it is really good to work with a dark base to start with, because you can really see what you're doing, and just working in one colour simplifies everything. Whereas, you know, working in several colours, you're then dealing with colour and tone instead of just texture and form. So the great thing with just working with one colour to create your form is that you're really just playing with the textures, how it looks, the layout, the layering, and it just simplifies everything because you don't have to think about colour as well. So you will notice that what I'm doing is I'm looking for any patchy areas, because I don't like to immerse my fabric into the Powertex. I prefer to work it in like I'm showing you, rather than pulling the Powertex out of it. I find I get a really beautiful even coating like this, and it really works well into the fibres, and I also you know, don't waste much at all. Oh, don't know what that is, a little bug or something from the studio stick, natural leaf from my garden studio. And I'm just going to pull these edges. So much fun. Okay, now what I was saying before is one of the things with the t-shirt material I love to do is to pull the stretch out of it so that it really gets a beautiful sort of leathery look. But I don't want to make it too long, which I kind of already have made it pretty long, but that's okay. Then I'm looking for the side I like the most. I don't think it matters too much. And then I just get that, and I basically just really am crossing it over. And then I go, okay, do I like that? If I don't like that, I can always undo it. I kind of do like that. Kind of like that little foldy bit that's happening in there, but maybe might just go more like that. There we go. So sometimes, well, quite often, you'll find the fabric does your work for you. And so you can see what I'm doing here is I'm just teasing that edge so it gets a curl on it, because it was a cut edge. And so now, instead of being a cut edge, you can see that it is more of a rolled edge. And same here, this edge here is pretty cut. And if I just pull that, I get a nice, much nicer edge on that. Okay, so I'm just going to clean my hands off so that I can put the gloves back on again in a minute, because I like to manipulate things with my fingers so that I can touch and feel and see what I am doing. Okay. So a fantastic tool is actually kebab stick. They are brilliant for just manipulating your fabric. And what I like to do is, you can see I'm just pushing it down in certain areas so that it really has gripped well onto there. So instead of pushing all of these beautiful natural folds out of the fabric, I'm actually using the kebab stick to keep those very natural, beautiful folds. Now, I can also use the kebab stick to actually increase the folds and the ripples. So I can manipulate this to get some really lovely gathers. That later on, when I dry brush it, and see, I can dry brush this with things like the beautiful Powertex turquoise, which is just going to be stunning, or the new Colourtrix olive green, and I do love the blue green as well. They are both really beautiful colours. So I'm going to leave those bits here flat, because I might actually attach something there, and I'm just going to give this a little bit more texture. So the thing that I see with people beginning with Powertex is they squash everything down and they squash it all flat. So, you know, if you learn very early on to trust the medium is going to harden all of these beautiful folds that are rippled into that t-shirt material, and it will actually, you know, stay like that, which is just magnificent. So how I created the sort of rosette that is on here is I just twisted the fabric. So all of this is just twisted t-shirt material gathered up, and like I've just done here. Now you can see the difference in colour when we put these side by side. The first one, this one here, it has, you can see where it's still a bit wet in underneath, but you can see how it's drying to this darker colour, and you can see the difference in the colour. So it starts off as this sort of cobalt blue and goes to a really deep, almost like a Prussian blue colour, which is just gorgeous, because it gives you that real depth underneath that you can then highlight with some beautiful metallic pigments, and so I would probably use turquoise and silver to finish this one off. Okay, so now we've actually got the bottle cuff on there. This is where we can then take some other textures. Now, you can see how simply playing with the t-shirt material is just absolutely stunning, and I just love it. But let's just push it a bit further and go with a few other things. So I could put a bit of this on. I don't want to cover those areas that I truly love, but I do want to, you know, do some more. So I could tuck that up underneath. I could come in here. Let's just go for it, right? And we'll do both of those bits so we can keep a little bit of balance. I like to make the bits different sizes, so I don't like to have the same size in everything, but actually using the same texture across your piece is really, really nice. So we've got those. We could also tuck in, I love that sort of cut edge there. So we could also tuck that in there. That's going to then give it a totally different look and feel. Do you like that? Let's try and oops. I've got a wrapped mat here because sometimes what I do like to do is actually have the wrapped mat and then paint the Powertex on to the texture. And that way I don't end up with Powertex all over that I've got to clean up. And the other benefit is that, you know, it doesn't all scrunch up. So I actually use muslin in this way, because otherwise you'll find that the muslin, if you just dip it and put it onto your piece, just goes really, really mushy, and you don't get any textural sort of value out of it whatsoever. All right, so I have coated that. Like I say, it is pretty plasticky. I'm going to coat this other bit as well while I'm here. So be interesting to see if it takes it up at all. But I am going to attach it with stone art. Now, what I have done with the stone art, it's the mix I made the other week where I actually mixed the stone art with some Power Smooth, and because I'm going to be using it with molds, I've got that one on hand. And so, of course, the mix of the 50-50 Power Smooth and stone art just makes a really gorgeous mix for actually making up your molds, because it just gives you such beautiful fine detail. Okie dokie, let's get this on there. So I have got, and get blue onto my lovely stone art clay mix here. If you don't know how to do this, then that's okay. You can take a look back. It was only, well, probably a couple of months ago now that I actually was showing how to actually mix the, I'm going to pop just some on this edge here, just so that making a really beautiful job of this. Not. Oh, dear. I'm going to tuck it up in under there. And then I'm going to press it onto the back of that fabric. Now, what is happening, I don't know if you noticed that, but what happened then was my fingers actually have Powertex on them. And so if you don't keep your hands clean, what you will find is you start to stick to your artwork. So it's really good to have something on hand, where a bowl of warm soapy water to wash your hands as you work, or even a damp cloth that you can just clean your fingers off with, so that you can keep working. So this is a clay tool, so I'm just going to really press that onto the back of that fabric, because like I say, it is quite plasticky. And so, and I'm going to put a little bit more just on this edge here. Don't need a lot. I just want it to catch onto the underside of this other bit of fabric. Let me see if I can show you that. So what I've done is I've just pushed that onto there. Now I can tidy that up. Oh. See, I shouldn't have tried to show you what I'm doing, but anyway, pulled it off and it's disappeared. Let's try again. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just catching that on that bit of fabric so that it tucks in underneath and stays where I want it to stay. Okay, so I don't mind that. Probably would rather that bit sit down like that a little bit more. Maybe this bit be a bit higher. Okay, there we go. Good enough. So that is the plasticky netting that I think, thanks Beth, that was from you, this netting. So it's always nice when you're gifted little bits. So Beth, of course, is from the Arts Creative. She's going to catch up on this later on. Should put it on the other side so it goes onto the fabric. Yep. Need to wash my hands again. Oh dear. I'm making this look really difficult. It's really not that difficult. So I just want a little bit of that clay just so that it gives it an instant stick. I'm going to tuck that up underneath there. Now, remembering that I can always go back in and just going to move that around a bit further. So I can always go back in and colour any bits that I've missed. I can also rejuggle things. So I've got a bit of fluffy white stuff on there that I don't want really. Okay, so happy enough with that. And it's all then about the layers. So like I say, I can put on, you know, a bit of the mop string, which is always really, really lovely, and you can get a really beautiful dangly effect with that. So I really like when you can find the thinner mop string. It's actually really nice. This is just string, so you can also just, you know, use string. But I do love the mop string. I particularly love it when I find the one that is really a bit thinner than this one. So this one is quite chunky, whereas the one that I really like is just a little bit thinner than that one. So I'm going to make a tassel with that. And then I'll make another one. Who is inspired to do something on a bottle cuff with Powertex this weekend? Makes beautiful gift, and these ocean blue colours, of course, you could use found objects, so you could, you know, incorporate some shells. Like I say, you could actually have a play and make a bit of a mermaid piece that you then attach onto your bottle bling. Which would be a lot of fun. I'm just going to pop that back in here and put that lid just over the top. Okay, so let's take a bit of this and a bit of this and these, and we'll just add those on because we can. I have made a glorious mess here with the Powertex, painting that netting. So we'll just get rid of that mess. Okay. Right, the easiest way to actually coat your mop string is to put a bit of Powertex into a cup, have a brush, and I will put my gloves on because I can, and then I'll take them off again when I want to poke and pull the textures around. Okay, so the easiest way with this is to actually get a bit of Powertex into my bowl. I like to do one end, and then I actually pull that Powertex down that string like so, yeah, like that. Then I simply go into the other end and I do the same thing. So this is my tassel end. So I'm really working it into those fibres, and I'm working it in the length of that cord. I don't want too much Powertex on the tassels because I want them to actually end up being individual strands. So I'm just going to take some of the excess off of that onto the other piece that I'm going to coat. So that's nice. That's ready to go. Then we'll do the other one. So start at the top end. Okay, One's good to go. You can see there's a little bit of white popping through there. I try not to have too many fibres and fabrics lying around because you don't want to get your hands on everything and get Powertex on everything. So I'm just coating this beautiful netting fabric. I'm going to take it straight out of there and put it straight onto my piece. Now, any of these bits that are still white, I can always touch them up once it has touch dried. And I can also just texturize that even more. Okay, kebab stick has gone over here. So you can see again, instead of pressing everything down with my fingers, I'm actually using the brush or the kebab stick to actually press down on that. Sure, I had another piece of netting. No, I had 3 pieces because 3 is such a great number to work with. And so, like I say, you want to have the textures across your whole piece, and you're better to do a few different pieces and keep them simple and try different things, or just go crazy and go nuts and go for your life. Wild flow, I love it. Welcome, thanks for watching. So where are you from? I'd love to hear. I love that name, Wild Flow. That sounds fabulous. Let's go wild. Follow our creative wild hearts. I'm all about that. Yep, lost it. But in losing it, I found my other piece, so that's good. Now, I will say, you don't need any stone art to attach this fabric because it is going to, attach to the other piece. But with your heavy elements, like I'm going to show you next, it's really, really good to actually use some stone art for an instant stick, like I did with the netting. Just want to pop some Powertex on these bits that are on my fingers because they're kind of cool. Waste not, want not. So the great thing with the Powertex is you can recycle a lot of junk materials. So you can take found objects, found materials, things that you've had for years lying around and actually utilize them. And the Powertex is just going to harden the fibres and fabrics and also, as you can see, stick everything together as well. All right, and I've got a third little bit lying in here. And you can see how much fun it is, like once you start playing with all of those beautiful distressed fabrics and getting a variety of textures happening on your piece. It's just so much fun. Okay, let's have a look at that. So, again, just to remind you what I said earlier, It's so much easier when you're beginning with Powertex to create a base with one colour. And then once that base has hardened, then play with your colours afterwards, because you'll get a much more professional finish. Plus, it's enough that you're thinking about, oh, how do I layer this, and what do I put together? So Wild Flow is just asking, so basically it's like a fabric hardener and a glue. Absolutely. The Powertex is awesome because it is such a universal medium. So it acts like a glue. It paints and colours your fabrics. So there's 11 different colours. So you've got transparent, which is, will dry clear. So that's why I'm just emphasising about the colour, because I wouldn't start with your coloured fibres and fabrics. I would start with your textures and layering and get used to that. And then once you have played around with that, then go to your stash of beautiful fabrics and use your transparent Powertex on some of those. So yeah, Powertex is a hardener. It is colouring stuff. So you've got transparent, terracotta, you've got bluish grey, bronze, which is just gorgeous, which I showed earlier. All sorts of things. Okay, let's quickly get this onto my piece so that then I can show you some moulds. So generally, you want to be joining wet to wet. So I'm just popping a little bit of Powertex on there just to make sure that it's going to stick nice and easily. You don't want to overdo it, so you don't want, too much. Now, what I do need to decide is where the front is going to be. So I've got all this craziness happening, and I'm just spreading that tassel so that it doesn't all stick and harden together. But like I say, I would actually probably go back into that, and yeah, I like that. And then I can just get that bit and create a bit of texture. Oh, excuse me. Frog in my throat. Oh dear. So you love creating and making art. Yes, that's what we're all here for. And, so the whole idea behind these projects that I'm doing at the moment is that, they're easy projects for getting started with the Powertex. I'm just dangling that to see where I want it to go. Might go in there. Might just make it look like it's got a knot. Look at that. So it's not actually knotted, it's just wrapped around itself. And then you do, with this, you do want to check as you go that, you're getting things in the right place. I've kind of got everything overlapped awkwardly there. Normally, I would be turning my piece around as I go, but because it's a demo, I tend to race through it a little bit more. So I would just be turning it around, adjusting the folds, adjusting the joins, and making sure everything is sitting how I want it to sit. But even here, I can go back later and add some more shells to that area if I want to. So the main thing, like I was saying earlier, is I really want to pay attention to my edges and my finishes. And so I really like to tuck things in underneath, hide cut edges, or roll the fabric on the cut edges, And you can see how I have really, paid attention to the edges. That will make such a difference in your artwork when you do that. So everywhere anything is joining, and remember, the Powertex is going to stick to itself. So, quite often I'll go through a couple of kebab sticks so that I'm actually changing them out as I go. I do like these just bits of shredded bits hanging on there. So, I can do as much of that as I like. That one hasn't really got enough Powertex on it. All right, so moulding, let's quickly take a look at how I could add some little shells. So you saw that I've got this beautiful ammonite mould. This is the mini ammonite mould. It is absolutely gorgeous and it is just stunning to use. And the really good thing is that you can press your stone art clay into it and then put it straight on your piece. Now I am going to use the light one so that you can see the contrast. I will paint it blue though. Yes, there are loads of videos, so you can subscribe on YouTube and you'll find the Friday Live. There's a playlist since February 2020. I've been doing Friday Lives every week. Last year I had a bit of a sabbatical due to health. But other than that, there is loads of free content on there. And I also have some online courses at ashleyhayartacademy.com. So you can find those there as well. Have a squiz of those. Now, this is a little bit sticky, but we'll see how we go with it. So sometimes I like to put in some just get some vegetable oil on a brush and just give it the lightest little bit of oil. So if I do that, I don't put much on at all. I just find it helps it to come out of the mould really, really easily and to demold really well. It's probably big enough to do that one. Okay, so I've stretched it out. It's okay. And I can pop it on wherever I please. Now, obviously, I can take these out of the mould. I can take them out of the mould more carefully. And pop them onto my piece. Let's just put this around here. Now, one of the benefits about it being soft is, as you can see, it is malleable. So you can actually sort of mold it into the shape that you're joining it to. So this is Stone Art and Powertex. They are a powder that you mix with the Powertex and it makes an air-dried clay. And like I say, it just gives you these instant molds. I do find I'm finding this a little bit sticky. I probably just need a little bit more Stone Art in it. But we're just going to work with this. Do you know I had a shell mold that I was going to use as well? And did I bring it? No. So it's got starfish and shells and things like that. So I'm kind of liking the bendy quality of these ones. I'll just bend it up there. Oh, Powertex on my fingers. And I can keep working back into that and put as many molds onto there as I want. And of course, I would actually paint them blue, but what I've done is I've done them with a bit of contrast so that you can actually see those. So I hope that's nice and clear for you. And, you know, so you can see that. Now, at the moment, they're sticking out a lot because they're white against, you know, the blue background. Let's just do another couple of bits so that I've got 5. I do like odd numbers of things. So I tend to avoid even numbers, and I like to kind of space everything a bit randomly as well. So you don't want the same spaces between everything, or your brain kind of gets bored. There we go. It's kind of cool. So you can see it's all about layers of texture, and the more you build up your textural layers and you add different elements, the more interest you create in your piece. But the real benefit of working with that stone art is that it is malleable and you can mold it as you go. And you can see, you just take your mold and it's literally an instant stick. Shall I do a bigger one, or shall I do a different shell? Let's try one of these. So, you know, this is the plaster one. So you can see if I put that on there, it is a totally different look because it is already hardened. But that would work too. I kind of like that there. So let's just do that. Now, if it doesn't stick on, what I would do is just put a little bit of the stone art behind here. But it was actually sitting quite nicely in that lip. So even though it is a little bit heavy, it should be enough that we just put some Powertex on there. So I'm just painting the edges and the back of it. And then I'm going to pop that straight into that little area there. And then I can paint into the top of that. A little bit more Powertex out. I don't want to paint those other molds until they've dried off, otherwise I'll lose all that beautiful texture that is actually on them. It's running away from me. Running away from me and running away from the camera. Oh dear. Okay, so I kind of like that. These ones, like I say, they're molds that I've actually done off of actual shells. So I wouldn't want to make I would make them thin, and then I would put them actually onto the piece from there. So there you go. There you have it. I will keep decorating from there with my ocean blues. I might put some more string on it. I could also, which is really nice, I know it's an ocean theme, but it is, flowers are just so nice. And if you've got some paper flowers, these are actually really wonderful, and they just really, give you a really beautiful finished look. And just another element. So there you have it. I hope you have loved this today. So I'll just run through a quick review for you on what we have talked about. So basically, select a range of porous fibres and fabrics to create your textural layers. And then, like I said last week, actually using a dark base is really wonderful. And with Christmas coming up and us looking at doing gifts for Christmas, as just a little thing for our friends or family, to actually use the blue and do ocean sort of silvers and turquoises, or your reds and golds. So next week, I'm going to show you a red one, and we're going to do a Christmas themed one, and I will also show you finishing off with some colour, or I might actually have finished it, but dry brushing some colour onto this one. So I'll probably take turquoise and silver onto it. So the really nice thing with these is you can finish them off with any colours. 50-50 mix of stone art and power smooth with your Powertex Ultimate Medium makes up that soft air dried clay that I showed you, that is really quite malleable. It takes the textures really, really beautifully and is a lot of fun to play with. And use your stone art for an instant stick. So for those elements that are heavy, like especially if you make something, an element that you want to attach, like a mermaid with her hair, and I mean, you can actually attach the head the same way as I put the blue shell onto here, and then you can add your fibres and fabrics on as you're working. So top tip for the day is don't forget to wrap your plastic mats as well for a quick and easy cleanup. And you can also, if you are putting on a heavy element, you can actually take some Glad wrap and you can tie it around that heavy element and easily remove it once it has dried off a little bit so that it doesn't fall off. Lovely. So we've got some ocean lovers. So that is the thing. Who doesn't love the beach? Who doesn't have a friend who loves the beach? And so let's get into some ocean themed bottle cups this week. Do some bling with some ocean blues. So I look forward to seeing what you create on the Powertex Australia Creative Hub. If you haven't joined there yet, please join us there. I love to see what you create from Friday Live. And also, if you have any other questions, you can ask them in the hub if you're stuck with anything. Plus, it's just such a nice place to be because everyone will ooh and ah at your artwork, which is nice. So coming up next week, like I said, we're going to do Bottle Bling Part 2. We're going to do a red one. I have used red at a craft show once, and it was just so wild because it there was just red everywhere. So you can imagine it looked a bit like a murder scene with red hands and red gloves and red artwork. So it was quite funny. So but the red is just absolutely beautiful in the Powertex. So I really want to share that with you. So I will share that with you next week for those of you who want a more traditional bottle cuff for Christmas. And I'll show you a couple of ways that you can make some nice elements to add onto your piece. So that's the Creative Hub there. And then, of course, you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you get notifications when I'm going live. Ring that bell and they will let you know that I've gone live so that you don't miss anything. Now, if you do need some Powertex, you will find it around the world. There should be some in your country. If you need the link, just ask me in the comments and I will pop a link for your supplier for your country. But in Australia, you can get Powertex from a trainer or supplier near you or from powertex.com.au. And again, you will find loads of information on that website as well. And if you are curious about my online courses, then you will find them at ashleyhayart.com. Yep, hang on. That's the Rust Effects one, but it's ashleyhayartacademy.com. So there you go. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful creative weekend and this has inspired you to more arty inspiration and creativity to have a play with over the coming days. And I look forward to seeing what you do. So thank you for joining me and I will see you again next Friday. Ciao.